Hi there. Today's video is about fractions, specifically adding and subtracting fractions. Everybody at some point needs a review of fractions. I'm pretty sure you haven't been looking over those over the summer, and there's a lot that we do this year with the form of a fraction, and there's a lot of times when leaving something in the form of a fraction makes things easier. So we're going to start by reviewing fractions this year before we really get into the textbook. We know that a fraction is any value that can be written in the form a over b, where b is a non-zero value. If b is 0, then it does not exist, because a fraction literally means a divided by b. So if you are going to take that value and turn it into a decimal, you take a divided by b. So I know that in elementary school you were told that a fraction is a part of a whole, and that's true. That is absolutely true. A fraction is a part of a whole. But as we get in middle school, a fraction is more of a form that we write a problem in. So I like to call a fraction our fancy division problem, because we don't want to use the line with a dot above and a dot below. That's very elementary school. We're going to use the fraction bar, which is our division bar. A over b means a divided by b. A, that we call the numerator, and b is the denominator. A is the numerator, b is the denominator. Always, every time. So, when we are adding and subtracting fractions, the denominator, which is b, that has to be the same. We have to be talking about the same types of values to be able to add or to subtract them. We can't take apples and subtract oranges. That doesn't work. We cannot do that. But we can subtract apples from apples, and we can subtract oranges from oranges. That's why we have to have a common denominator. Let's look at an example problem. I'm going to adjust my view here. Okay. Let's look at 2/3 plus 1/2. 2/3 plus 1/2. With that, we have unlike denominators. That means we have to get them to be the same. The easiest way to do that is to multiply these two together. Alright, so 3 times 2, 2 times 3. Now what we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So if we multiply the 3 by 2, we have to multiply this 2 by 2. If we multiply the 2 by 3, we have to multiply the 1 times 3. And when we do that, we end up with equivalent fractions. That gives us 4/6 plus 3/6. Now we add our numerators and we keep our denominator. 4 plus 3 is 7. And we have our denominator of 6. Now 7/6, that sounds great. That sounds like, ooh, I'm done, I'm ready to go. Except that it's an improper fraction. And I do not like improper fractions. You do not like improper fractions. So we're going to divide to find our mixed number. Okay? When we do this, the numerator goes inside the house, the denominator goes outside. 6 goes into 7 one time. Okay, so we have one whole left over. 1 times 6 is 6. Then we subtract and we're left with 1. Now when we're in 3rd and 4th grade and we're learning how to do long division, We call that a remainder. In middle school, that remainder of 1 that's right here, that becomes our new numerator, and our denominator stays the same. So that means that 7/6 is the same as 1 and 1/6. We don't have to go out and do all kinds of funky division. We don't have to convert to a decimal. All we have to do is take that remainder, and that remainder becomes part of a fraction. And that's where fractions can make things a lot easier. Okay, so let's go through this one more time. Let's look at what we did. The first thing that we did, we had 2 fractions with unlike denominators. We had to find a common denominator. So we multiplied those 2 values by each other. 3 times 2 gives us 6. 2 times 3 gives us 6. Then we have to do to the numerator the same thing that we did to the denominator. 2 times 2 gives us 4. 1 times 3 gives us 3. Now that we have common denominators, we're going to add the numerators going straight across, and we keep the denominator. 4 plus 3 is 7. The 6 stays the same. And we divided to find that 7/6 was equivalent to the next number, 1 and 1/6. Subtraction works the exact same way. The exact same way. The only difference is that instead of adding your numerators here, you subtract them. That is the only difference. We'll do an example. Let's say that we had 7/8 and we were subtracting from that 1/3. 7/8 minus 1/3. These are unlike denominators. So the first thing I'm going to do is find a common denominator. That means that I multiply these by each other. 8 times 3, 3 times 8. Means we take the 7 and also multiply that by 3. We take the 3, well, we took this 3 multiplied by 8, so we're going to take the 1 and multiply it by 8. 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 3 is 24. 21 24ths minus 1 times 8 is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Now, we have 21 24ths minus 8 24ths. 21 minus 8 is 13. We keep the denominator of 24, so we're left with 13 24ths. 13 is a prime number. Because 13 is a prime number, that means that we cannot simplify that fraction. There is no other way to write that fraction using smaller values. So good news there is that we can leave it alone. That's it. There is no more. There's nothing else to do. You don't need your calculator. That's it. Let's walk through this again to make sure we understand. We started out with a fraction, 7/8. We subtracted from that 1/3. Because they had unlike denominators, we multiplied the denominators by each other to find something in common. That was 24. We multiplied the 8 times 3 and the 3 times the 8. What we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So that means we took 7 times 3 and got 21. We took 1 times 8 to get 8. 21 minus 8 is 13. we keep the 24. So our final answer is 13/24 because 13 is a prime number. If either, you are done simplifying when you have either a prime number or if you have two numbers that do not have a common factor. That means that if there's no value that you can divide both of them by to get the same thing. You have today examples, problems to practice on. You need to complete those, get as many done as you can in class. What you do not finish in class is homework. This is to be done with no calculator. This is a no calculator assignment. What you do not finish in class today is homework tonight. It needs to be ready to be turned in tomorrow with your Power School name on it. I need to be able to see your work. So if it took me at least 2 lines, it should take you at least 2 lines. If you need to show long division, show me long division. Okay? All right. Make sure that I can read your writing. Get to work. I'll see you tomorrow.